Is there any real reason to be using a 6-string bass? Let's figure it out. Metal Bass Monday. So to start off this week, I'm looking at developing something new for patrons, something new to offer up, and I'd love to get everybody's opinion on it. I had the idea that because I try and view this channel more as a community than just involving myself, I thought it might be a cool thing to, on a monthly basis, one time, hold a basically Zoom meeting and pick, say, 3 people out of the patrons, you guys here, because you're awesome, and just have a conversation. So instead of just having the live feeds like, we do back and forth here on the channel and on the patron channel, being able to get some of you to come on and have kind of a bass roundtable, talk, be able to interact face to face. Some of the community members and patrons can talk with each other and with me, and I'd be kind of more a moderator than someone just talking about a subject. I think it could be a blast. Have a few beverages, talk about Alex Webster, bad gear, whatever we want to do. So I think it could be a fun thing, but let me know what you think and if that's something you'd be interested in. Also, how do you feel that the people should be chosen every month? I'm also going to post this, of course, in the patron channels. Links down below if you'd like to get in on that. Subscribe, Cigar, and Patreon. And as always, thanks to my patrons. I'm looking forward to some more interaction and things. And yeah, very cool. So I think it could be fun, but you let me know. And next, I'm going to be doing a video on Wednesday that I'm hoping you will all come back and watch. So please hit subscribe if you aren't a subscriber already. Hit the bell to get notifications. I feel like this is kind of important, and it's something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I even filmed a version of it and decided to redo it with some other information. Basically, it's a big piece of transparency about the channel and some things I want to make very clear about what I do here, especially in respect to gear that I recommend, demos, things like that. Some changes are coming to the channel, and most of them have to do with the fact that I'm going to be sharing content with Guitar Interactive Magazine now. I want to get out in front of it and let you know exactly what's going on, that you can come to expect the same things, but I also want to dispel some misconceptions and some things that have popped up in the comments once in a while. And I want you to 100% know what it means when I talk about a piece of gear, and if I recommend something, if I demo it or review it, whatever it is. Because it's going to be coming from another source on occasion now, I want to make some hard and fast rules about what you can expect on that. And I also feel like, especially when I read some places like TalkBass and things, there's some real serious misconceptions from people who consume this kind of content or go for YouTube reviews about the motivations of the people who do this. And I think hearing the creator side of why there are things like I don't do real tear down reviews of things. I'm always open in the comments about, saying what gear I don't like or things like that. Or on Trash or Treasure, I dig up old things and present them to you and go, is this worth looking at? And if I think it's crap, I'll tell you no. So I wanted to actually lay that out as well. And I think not just for this channel, but for a lot of the stuff you watch, it'll help clarify some things. And I definitely want to make a point, though, about letting you know where I'm coming from and lay down the rules and be upfront, totally open about it, and let you know every piece of how to understand what and why I choose to review and what I don't. So please check that out. I think it'll be cool. And as always, I'm looking forward to your comments in it and questions so that I can make everything as clear as possible and we can have a cool time playing gear and knowing that nobody's getting bullshitted. So let's get to the topic at hand. 6 strings? Really? So 6-string bass. A lot of controversy, a lot of debate, a lot of it's stupid. But, you can see a lot of the conversation about 6-string anymore really goes into 2 camps. People that seem to love it, and they tend to be soloists, and people who, do a lot of bass-oriented performances. And they swear by it, and it's the best thing that's ever happened. Then you have the other crowd, you know who it is. Jocko only needed 4. He also needed a lot of drugs and alcohol, but we're not going to emulate that either. But then people saying that it's excessive or it's like a guitar or, any of those equally stupid arguments. So what I wanted to do is tackle this, look at the advantages and disadvantages and see, does this have validity? And as always, in the comments, do you play a six string? Why or why not? And I'll be interested to hear it. So in my experience, the funny thing was I went directly from 4 to 6 string when I started, playing a larger range of things. Personally, for me, I actually feel like 6 string, if you're coming from 4, at least from a learning or an orientation standpoint, feels easier. And I've heard this from a couple of different players, and here's why. It's because your original 4 strings are centered. So it's like you have your original instrument in the middle, and it's balanced. You have one high and one low. Whereas when you go to 5, your high string is still the same. It's now you have a lower string, and it's just biased to one side, so people tend to, jump on their B string and feel like it's the E string, making that kind of confusion of that one, whereas they don't as much when they have a higher string because, they realize all their stuff is kind of centered in the middle. It's not just this lopsided piece. And that kind of makes sense to me. I know until I really got used and played to a lot of 5 string, I kind of favored 6, not even because I used it that much, but because it just felt more balanced to me. So my fundamental rule, and we've talked about this before on the channel, is don't ever get something just because. Don't complicate your life. Don't complicate your music. Don't do any of this stuff if you don't need it. I know tons of players who want to play in a low range and they buy a 5 and then they don't like the feel of it and they miss their 4. And the answer for them really should have been to tune their 4 down and, maybe BEAD straight across or whatever drop tuning they use and stick with the 4. I love a good 4 string. There's something that will never replace that feeling of it's like having a Corvette in your hands that's just souped up, ripping up and down the neck. It's an engine all its own. But instead of looking at these things as one versus another, I think in the end, the real way to look at this when you're looking at advantage versus disadvantages is different things. People who say, why do I need a 4? I have a 6. It's like saying, why do I need a hammer? I have a saw. They're different things and serve different purposes. But I genuinely think if you have no reason or you immediately can't look at an instrument and go, I know what I would do with that, you don't need it. Keep your life simple. Keep it easy. Don't do it because of outside pressure or you feel like you're not, doing what the elites do or anything else. Or don't keep it simple if you feel like you want to stretch out, but people are, giving you a hard time or, what do you want to be, a guitar player? It's called bass guitar. Let's get up to date here. So besides balance being a part of a 5, what are the reasons you might take on a 6? And especially, do they have applications in metal? And I find that's usually the big thing is people will like it, but then it's only for other forms of music like jazz or fusion where there's a lot more extension of harmony and that type of thing used in the bass playing. For myself, what I find myself doing with a 6 string most of the time is getting widespread intervals and things I need in a shorter space. It's less about having more notes, it's where the notes are. And that's really key to me. People think that there's a ton more notes on here. Realistically, there aren't, because your notes are duplicated across the neck. When you look at it, this note right here on your new high C string is the same as this one. It's just been moved down. So you're not gaining notes per se. You're getting a few more, like, from here up. But what you're realistically getting is these notes moved into this area. The irony being that people think all of a sudden you're going to be all over the place. If you're really going for a wide group of intervals in a short space and for efficiency, it means you're going to play actually a lot more up here. On a 4 string, you're going to be moving much more up and down the neck. Now, if you're comfortable with that and you like playing that way, 4's your thing. Maybe 5's your thing. If you like being able to cover large distances and do a lot of variable techniques in a short space, then maybe the 6 is more your thing. I feel like that's really the advantage. And people get a misconception about 6, thinking that it's just all the notes. No, it's where the notes are. So if I'm playing in here and say, I've got bass notes here, hitting a double stop chord that I would normally have to slam my hand up the neck and get up in here, I now have it here. So I can write more complicated bass lines or things with a lot more variance and technique inside of them right inside of one area. You've got a lot to cover. So that's where I feel 6-string really shines. It's not, having all this ridiculousness all over the place. It's having a lot more available in a shorter span. So if you're doing, piano style tapping or something like that, being able to do it closer in. Now, this is also, though, one place where if you're into things like tapping, you might get the advantage of having this low B and then having, being able to work up in here. That's a big range. So having, this all the way up here, then you can start transcribing some piano pieces and things. That's what I'm actually working on and why I picked up some extra 6 strings here. Extra. No, I need them all of them, all the time. But that's really the big advantages here. And what I've really tried to impress with a few students and a few people that I've tried teaching composition with is, in a way, to take that concept of using the 4 strings that are on your original and look at them literally as the center of this instrument, and then think, what can I do with these other pieces as extensions? Here's something you don't hear in metal almost ever anymore, because everybody's after the lowest possible note. Every riff is going to be using the open lowest note. Well, if your band is playing in, you may drop tune this or whatever it is, your lowest note on the E string, getting this low, and this is for a 5-string too, try using it more as notes underneath. Meaning you could do descending lines to add a supportive bass line that moves underneath the riff and creates other harmonies and tensions rather than the lowest note always being the guitar player's open string. That can go a long way with this. And the same with above, being able to play chord notes, structures, being able to do things like that under a slow guitar solo, pieces like that. Or one of the other things, and I have to give credit to a bass pioneer that we lost recently, Tim Bogert. I learned this from him at Musicians Institute because he used to sing and play at the same time like I do. One of his things was he actually tuned his bass, because there are no rules, like a guitar, meaning that he dropped these top 2 strings because he wanted to be able to take the same chord forms when he played guitar in the same hand positions and move them to bass. And he felt, especially in a power trio, and I feel like 6-string in a power trio is, probably a great choice too, that he could imply those same chord notes and play bass lines in the exact same hand positions and maneuvers that some of them, because of the difference in tuning, you can't do on a bass as easy, that he could do it with guitar. And when he's the entire rhythm section, that it's not, 2 guitars and bass, that he is that rhythm, he was able to do, kind of comping, bass with a chord piece on top type of things, or be able to immediately pick out the notes from the chord that the guitar player was playing, because he knew them from the same position too, and be able to drop those in. That made a hell of a lot of sense to me. I'm starting to do that myself a lot. And the funny thing is, one of the 6s I have right now, I'm setting up and retuning to be in guitar tuning and tuned up a half step to C. I do a lot of my writing in my metal project in C. A lot of that's coming up, so I thought, get the bass and guitar in the same tuning, and then for some really crazy interactive stuff where I'm trading things back and forth between bass and guitar, call and answer type of stuff, I'm going to have the exact same frets, the exact same positions, and be able to think as the 2 things kind of being, the left and right of something rather than two different instruments in different tunings, and what works on one doesn't work on another, that type of thing. So again, it opens up a lot of options like that. And at the end of the day, I think that's really what six string should be looked at as, a new set of options. And you have to judge it off of that. It's offering you an extension lower, which you could get with a 5-string, and an extension higher. And it's also, because you have more open strings, giving you some thoughts about using different tunings, things like that. So really it comes down to, do you feel like you want to open up and explore? Or are you more a meat and potatoes bass player and you're good with what you have? And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of gigs that I love getting back on my 4-string and even just letting go on my 5s. Drop tuning that a little bit and just hauling ass on it, because again, there is something about just getting back to it. Some things call for basics. A good hamburger, that's all you need. Some food, a bit gourmet, you need that extra. You gotta go with the special options. So they aren't at war with each other, contrary to what a lot of the douchebags on these forums or people giving you advice might say. They're complementary items and right tool for the right job. So I see a lot of 5. It's almost become a default in metal anymore, but the occasional 6. But 6 seems to be one that's brought into prog. And that's another kind of mission that I've set for myself with the new music that I'm writing and things, is I want to break kind of the boundaries on a few things where it's like 6-string is in prog stuff, the really heavier aggressive stuff you play 4, maybe 5. I want to cut out some of those things and go, can I take a 6 and get damn mean with it? Can I do bass lines that sound raw and vicious and powerful, but use up a lot of range and take up a lot of space? That's a new challenge. Usually raw and powerful means simple and smaller. More exotic and progressive means more notes. Let's see if we can break some of those barriers. Do you feel that you see bands that are really kind of blurring these things and showing the potential of the 6-string? And what are your thoughts on it? Do you think you might want to play one that doesn't intimidate you? I know some players that are just kind of like, whoa, it knocks them back a little bit. What are your thoughts on that one? Hit up down in the comments. Let's talk about it. And so to cap off, I thought I'd just introduce you to the new beauty here. This is a stunner, and I just shout out and thank you to Tommy at EMG. Got me out a set of P6 to drop these in, and as you know, if you watch the channel, double P is my favorite combination. Sounds pretty savage. Yeah, another one of those horrible 34 scale B strings I keep hearing about that can't sound good or tight. Beautiful. But yeah, this is another from the TL series. I did the Trasher Treasures on the TLs, and I managed to come across this one. I absolutely love the finish. And an interesting thing is, because I've already done the TL, I'm probably not going to do a full thing on this. The neck on this is actually really different from the 5s. On the 5 strings, it has a D shape, which I talked about in the 1st and 2nd generation TL video. This one does not. It is a very slim, exact, very thin C. I don't know if you can see it well, but yeah, not a thick neck at all. I'm impressed. Really, the American-made PV stuff, as you know, I've been raving about it. I just kind of stumbled back into this stuff and went, why didn't I go back and revisit this sooner? I will be doing some other stuff, and because I want you to know I listen to your requests, I've actually had an uptick in requests for fretless lately. So, because, why not? And because you asked, I have a 6-string fretless PV Cirrus on the way here, and we're going to do some jamming. So we'll be taking on some of that and doing some walkthroughs, but hey, if you're going to go hard on one end, being 6-string, got to go fretless too, right? Let's get nuts. So, but yeah, really a great bass. And the neck, I would say, My favorite six string of all time was a Tobias Basic 6 that I had to sell in music school, and I've mourned it ever since. It had an asymmetrical neck profile, but this one doesn't have that one, but I would say this is only a barely close second to that bass, which that's saying a lot because, you know, the pre-Gibson Tobias are really sought after collector's items, easy commanded between 4 and 5,000 for a really good one. This is beautiful, maple body sides, really sounds good. So another one from PV I can recommend. And like I said, it's not, if you've got a TL5, not going to feel quite the same. I actually like this even more. Really, really cool stuff. And yeah, I think I'm going to hunt down another one if I can. They're rare as hen's teeth though. So, but yeah, going to be fun. And I'll probably drop in case there's any of you out there, maybe a six string lesson, or maybe I'll just write a riff or some kind of thing, a bass line, and we'll toss it out and try some new ideas. So again, hit me up in the comments. I'll see you down there right after this video here when it debuts. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Always a blast. I will see you on the next one.